The first time I realized my life had been stolen, I was standing in a hospital hallway, barefoot, holding a paper cup of water I didn't remember asking for. The cup was shaking. My hands were shaking. But everyone around me looked relieved. "She's awake," my mother said, smiling too fast. My boyfriend, now ex apparently, let out a breath like, "Thank God." And the doctor nodded, already turning away, as if whatever had happened to me was now officially over. But it wasn't over. It was just beginning. Because when I looked at their faces, something felt wrong. Not confused wrong, not groggy wrong, empty wrong. Like I had walked back into my own life and found strangers wearing my people's skin. They told me I'd had a breakdown. They said I'd been overworked, overwhelmed, too sensitive. They said I'd signed things I didn't remember signing, agreed to things I didn't remember agreeing to. They said I should be grateful. I was 26 years old. I had a master's degree, a small but growing consulting business, a boyfriend I trusted, a best friend I loved like family. And in less than 6 months, all of it was gone. According to them, by my own choice. I nodded, smiled, played the part. Because here's the thing they didn't know yet. I remembered more than they thought. 6 months earlier, my life had been loud, messy, and mine. I worked insane hours, yes, but I loved it. I helped small businesses recover from financial disasters. I fixed messes. I rebuilt systems. I made chaos make sense. People called me when everything was on fire, and I was good at it. My boyfriend, Aaron, used to joke that I loved broken things because they made me feel needed. He said it with a laugh, but his eyes always lingered a little too long when my phone buzzed late at night. My best friend, Lila, was my opposite. Soft voice, big empathy, always worried about me. "You don't rest," she'd say. "You don't trust people enough," she'd say. "You carry everything alone." At the time, I thought that meant she cared. Now I know it meant she was watching. The first crack appeared the night I collapsed during a client presentation. I didn't faint. I didn't black out. I froze. My chest locked. My breath vanished. Words evaporated mid-sentence. The room spun, and suddenly Aaron was there, arm tight around my shoulders, telling everyone I'd been pushing myself too hard. I remember wanting to say, "No, I'm fine. I just need a second." But my mouth didn't cooperate. The next thing I remember clearly is Lila sitting beside my bed later that night, stroking my hair. "I told you this would happen," she whispered gently. I should have asked, "Told me what?" Instead, I closed my eyes. After that, everything sped up. Doctor appointments I don't remember scheduling, therapy sessions where the notes didn't sound like me, conversations where my concerns were labeled paranoia. Aaron started handling my emails. Lila offered to help with my finances temporarily. My mother was told I was fragile. And the scariest part? Everyone agreed. The more I protested, the more it proved their point. "She's spiraling," Lila said. "She doesn't see it," Aaron added. "It's for her own good," my mother whispered. That phrase became a cage. I was encouraged to rest, then discouraged from working, then quietly removed from my own company. When I finally snapped, screamed that they were stealing my life, that's when they decided I was sick. The hospital came after that. The diagnosis was vague, conveniently vague. The paperwork was already signed. By me. Apparently. So there I was, 6 months later, standing in that hallway with a paper cup of water and a future that no longer belonged to me. Aaron told me he'd moved on. Lila told me she'd been so scared for me. My mother told me to take it slow. They thought I was broken. What they didn't realize was that during all that silence, all that forced stillness, something inside me had sharpened. Because while my voice had been taken, my mind had not. I noticed patterns, timing, tiny inconsistencies in their stories. I remembered signing documents after being given medication I didn't need. I remembered Erin answering questions for me. I remembered Lila's name appearing on accounts she claimed she didn't touch. And most importantly, I remembered how people behave when they think you're powerless. They get careless. So I did the one thing no one expected. I stopped fighting. I apologized. I thanked them. I told them they were right. And in the quiet that followed, while they relaxed, while they believed the story they'd written about me, I started rebuilding. Not my old life, a new one. One that would make sure they understood exactly what happens when you mistake silence for weakness. Silence is a strange kind of freedom. When people think you're fragile, they stop watching you closely. They talk around you instead of to you. They forget you're in the room. I let them. I moved back into my childhood bedroom, the one with pale walls and a window that faced the neighbor's fence. My mother checked on me constantly at first. Cups of tea, soft questions, worried eyes. But even her concern faded when nothing dramatic happened. No tears, no anger, no ambition. I became agreeable. I'm just focusing on healing, I told everyone. It was true, just not in the way they thought. Every morning I took my prescribed meds. Every night I logged exactly how they made me feel. I requested copies of my medical records under the excuse of wanting to understand myself better. No one argued with that. The first thing I learned was how messy the truth becomes when too many people are lying. Dates didn't line up. Symptoms were exaggerated. Notes referenced conversations I never had. And then there were the signatures. My signature, technically, but sloppier, pressured, written at times when I was documented as disoriented. That mattered. I reached out to an old client of mine, Evan, not for help, not directly, just to catch up. We met at a cafe across town, somewhere no one I knew would casually pass by. He studied my face like he was trying to solve a puzzle. "They said you weren't well," he said carefully. "I wasn't. I am now." He nodded. Then I slid a folded paper across the table. Not accusations, not drama, just numbers. Account transfers, business registrations, a timeline. Evan didn't smile. He didn't panic. He leaned back and said, "Do you want your company back?" "No," I said. "I want something better." That was the first time I felt powerful again. Aaron, meanwhile, was thriving. He posted photos from rooftop bars, weekend trips, his new girlfriend's hand always visible but her face never fully shown. He talked about growth and boundaries online, like he hadn't built his success on my exhaustion. Leela had stepped into my place seamlessly. She told people she'd supported me through my darkest time. She used my systems, my contacts, my reputation. She wore my life like it fit her. I watched, I waited. Then I made my first move. I sent Leela flowers, a simple card. "So grateful for everything you did for me." She called immediately. "You didn't have to do this," she said, laughing nervously. "I wanted to," I replied softly. "You saved me." The silence on the line lasted half a second too long. After that, I started showing up. Coffee with old colleagues, events I'd once avoided because I was too overwhelmed. Each time I said the same thing. "I'm doing much better now. Turns out I just needed space from certain pressures." I never named anyone. People filled in the blanks themselves. Healing isn't just about rest. Sometimes it's about remembering who you were before you were convinced you were broken. I started running again, reading contracts like puzzles, training my focus the way I used to. At night, I wrote everything down. Every inconsistency, every overheard comment, Every email Leela sent pretending to be me for clarity. Then, quietly, I filed paperwork of my own. Not lawsuits, not yet. Ownership challenges, consent disputes, requests for independent evaluations. Nothing explosive, just enough to make systems pause. Aaron noticed first. He showed up unannounced one evening in my mother's doorway like a ghost from a life I no longer wanted. "You've been busy," he said. "Have I?" I smiled. "You're different," he said slowly. "I thought you were focusing on recovery." "I am," I replied. "I recovered my memory." His jaw tightened. For the first time, he looked unsure. Good. The second move was quieter but sharper. I sent my full medical file, annotated, organized, timestamped, to an independent patient advocacy group. No accusations, just facts. Let the professionals read between the lines. 3 weeks later, I received an email. "We have concerns." That night, I slept better than I had in months, because revenge doesn't always come with fire and screaming. Sometimes it comes with patience, with clarity, with letting people hang themselves on the lies they were so confident in. And the best part? I was no longer angry. I was calm, which meant when the truth finally surfaced, I wouldn't be asking for my life back. I'd be taking something far more valuable. The truth doesn't arrive all at once. It trickles in, slow, uncomfortable, like water seeping through cracks you swore were sealed. The first real shift happened on a Tuesday morning. My phone buzzed with a notification from the patient advocacy group. No dramatic subject line, just a meeting request. I wore a plain sweater, no makeup, hair loose. I wanted to look exactly like what they expected, a woman recovering, not retaliating. 3 people sat across from me, one doctor, one legal consultant, one woman who didn't speak much but watched everything. They asked questions. I answered calmly, clearly, without emotion, and that's what unsettled them most, because I wasn't confused, I wasn't fragile, I wasn't angry, I was precise. When I finished, the quiet woman finally spoke. "Do you understand," she asked gently, "that what you're describing suggests coercion?" I nodded. "Yes," I said. "That's why I waited." They exchanged glances. I didn't ask what would happen next. I already knew. Pressure makes people reveal themselves. Leela started calling more often, just checking in, just worried, just sensing I was pulling away. Aaron sent a long message apologizing for everything without actually naming a single thing. That told me more than any confession ever could. Then came the email, a system-generated notice from a financial platform I hadn't accessed in months. "Your account permissions have been modified." Leela had tried to move something. She'd gotten careless. I forwarded it to Evan with one line. "Now." Within 48 hours, the pieces aligned. An audit request here, a compliance review there, a temporary freeze that rippled outward. Nothing screamed scandal yet, but people started asking questions. At a networking event, I overheard someone whisper, "Didn't that used to be hers?" I stepped into the conversation with a smile. "It was," I said. "I'm glad it's being sorted out." Sorted out. Such a gentle phrase for what was coming. Aaron tried to corner me again, this time in public. We ran into each other outside a bookstore. He looked thinner, tired. "I didn't mean for things to go this far," he said quietly. "Which things?" I asked. He opened his mouth, closed it. "I was trying to help," he finally said. I tilted my head. Helping doesn't require control, and love doesn't erase someone's consent. His face flushed. "Are you saying I did something illegal?" I smiled softly. "I'm saying I told the truth." And I walked away. That was the moment I realized something surprising. I didn't want him to suffer. I wanted him to understand. Healing, I learned, is reclaiming your ability to choose. I chose to stop hiding. I chose to speak without shaking. I chose not to burn everything down. Instead, I built something new. With Evan's help and a few quiet allies, I launched a platform focused on ethical consulting practices, transparent contracts, clear consent, safeguards against exploitation disguised as care. People responded immediately, not because of my story, but because of the space I created for others to tell theirs. Messages poured in. This happened to me too. I thought I was crazy. No one believed me. Each one stitched something back together inside me. The fallout came faster after that. Leela's tone shifted from sweet to sharp. She accused me of rewriting history, of playing victim, of destroying what we built. I saved every message, because anger makes liars sloppy. Then one night, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. "I need to talk," Leela said, trembling. I looked at the clock. 11:47 p.m., the hour of desperation. "You can say it here," I replied. There was a long pause. "I never thought you'd remember everything," she whispered. And there it was. Not a full confession, but enough. "I trusted you," I said. "I know," she cried, "and I was scared you'd leave me behind." I closed my eyes. This wasn't satisfaction. This was closure. "I'm not responsible for your fear," I said calmly, "but you are responsible for your choices." She hung up. The next morning, the advocacy group called again. Their tone was formal now. Proceedings were moving forward. Reviews were expanding. Others had come forward. I thanked them and hung up. Then I sat by my window, sunlight warming the floor, and realized something profound. I wasn't waiting anymore. The story was no longer about what they did to me. It was about what I built after. And the ending? It wasn't theirs to control. The day everything ended didn't feel loud. There were no sirens, no shouting, no dramatic confrontations. Just a quiet email that landed in my inbox at 6:12 a.m. Findings confirmed, actions taken. I stared at the screen for a long time, my chest tight, not from fear, but from something unfamiliar, relief. The kind that doesn't rush in all at once, the kind that seeps into places you didn't realize were still hurting. Aaron lost his position first. Not publicly, not yet, but the partnerships he'd built using my work quietly dissolved. Contracts weren't renewed, invitations stopped coming, people stopped replying. He messaged me once more. "I didn't know how deep it went," he wrote. "I didn't think it would end like this." I typed a reply, deleted it, then typed another. It didn't end, it corrected. I never heard from him again. Lila's fall was slower and harder. The audit exposed everything: emails, access logs, patterns she'd assumed no one would ever connect. She tried to fight it. Tears, victim language, blame. But truth doesn't bend when it's documented. She lost the company she'd taken, then the narrative she'd built, then the audience that once believed her. The last time I saw her was in a reflection, my own, as I walked into a conference she'd been disinvited from. For a moment, I felt something twist inside me. Not triumph, grief. Because she hadn't just betrayed me, she'd chosen to become someone I never would have recognized. The hardest conversation came last. My mother sat across from me at the kitchen table, hands folded around a mug that had long gone cold. "I didn't protect you," she said, eyes wet. "I thought I was helping." I reached across the table and took her hands. "I know," I said softly, "but believing someone over me, that hurt." She nodded, tears slipping free. "I won't do that again." That mattered more than any apology, because healing doesn't demand perfection. It asks for accountability. Months passed, then a year. My platform grew, not explosively, but steadily, intentionally. Every safeguard I'd once wished for was built into its foundation, and I became something I never expected to be, a reference point. People introduced me like this. She's the one who rebuilt after being erased. I didn't correct them because for a long time that's exactly how it felt, like I'd been erased. One evening, after a long panel discussion, I returned to my apartment and stood barefoot in the living room, sunlight glowing through the windows. I thought about the girl I'd been at 26, exhausted, capable, trusting. I didn't regret her. She was brave in ways I didn't understand then, but I was braver now, because I knew this truth. Revenge isn't about watching someone suffer. It's about refusing to stay small so they can feel big. It's about choosing yourself so completely that the people who tried to control you no longer recognize the world you live in. The final piece came unexpectedly, an email from the hospital system, a formal apology, policy changes, training revisions. My case had reshaped how consent was documented. I read it twice, then closed my laptop and cried. Not because I won, but because someone else wouldn't lose themselves the way I had. That night, I stood in front of the mirror and met my own eyes. No labels, no diagnoses forced on me, no silence, just me, whole. I whispered something I'd waited years to say. You were right. And for the first time since everything had fallen apart, I believed it. People still ask how I forgave them. The truth is, I didn't. I forgave myself for staying quiet, for doubting my instincts, for believing strength meant endurance. Now I know better. Strength is choice, and I choose every single day to live a life so grounded, so honest, so mine, that anyone who ever tried to take it from me feels the weight of that loss without me lifting a finger. That's karma. And this is healing. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe for more stories of strength, healing, and karma, and comment below. Have you ever had to rebuild your life after betrayal?